There's a lot of designer fragrance brands out there and even more fragrances out there in general. There's a ton of stuff to choose from these days. So today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be picking 15 really popular designer fragrance brands. And I'm going to go through each brand and I'm going to give you, for me, in my opinion, their current best release that you can buy right now. And that's where I'm going to make this very clear. When I'm going through all of these, I'm talking about what you can get right now. I'm not going to include discontinued fragrances into the equation. That would change a lot of these. In fact, probably most of these brands might get changed around if I were able to include some discontinued scents or one discontinued scent. But I'm not going to do that because you can't buy those anymore. I'm trying to make this up to date for 2024 of August, what you can get and what I think is the best release from each brand. Because each brand has so many fragrance lines and so many fragrances within each fragrance line. And a lot of these just, you don't know where to start. Some of these might be surprising. Others, you might see it coming a mile away. But regardless, we're going to go through them. And I do want to hear from you. You don't have to go through all 15, but maybe list off a couple brands down below and then your favorite fragrance from them, just to kind of get the conversation started. And I will link all these down below as well. If you've got any interest in buying any of these, it'll make it super easy. We're going to start off with Giorgio Armani. It's a classic, iconic brand that has a ton of scents. And for me, I pretty much always default to the Acqua di Gio lineup. That's just kind of what I'm reaching for. They've got some amazing ones if you go into the Stronger With You lineup, which is Emporio Armani, but they're essentially the same thing. But, for me, it always falls back on Acqua di Gio. And my favorite, and what I think is the best right now, is Acqua di Gio Parfum. And at one point it was Profumo, and this is one that you see coming a mile away. But I really do think this is one of the best purchases you could make because it's really not a whole lot of money right now on discounters. It's come down to a price that's normal. You're talking maybe $120 or something, which these retail for close to $200. So big difference there. $120, more than fair for this stuff. And I'm talking, in this instance, the new 100 ml configuration with the magnetic cap. If you can get a good deal on the 125 ml with the click cap, that's a great option too. That's what that other Acqua di Gio Parfum looks like. Bottle's a little bit bigger and click cap. I did a buying guide on the whole lineup if you want to know more in depth on the differences between all of these. But essentially what this is in a nutshell is a smoky take on an aquatic DNA, giving it more of a nighttime appeal, just giving it more of a mysterious type of smell also. Acqua di Gio Profumo is a bestseller, and again guys, that's essentially what this is. The original Acqua di Gio is a bestseller, and this is just a much more refined and improved version of that original smell. It's got great performance to back it up too. Ton of versatility behind this one. I think this is Armani's best offering, at least as of right now. And I don't really see this one getting dethroned anytime soon either. Next up we have YSL, yet another iconic line or iconic brand with a ton of really popular fragrance lines. And this one was kind of tricky because they just have more variety and it's tough. It really is challenging. This could be changed if I could feature discontinued scents, but again, we're not doing that. In my opinion, even now in 2024, I still think their best release is OG La Nuit de l'Homme. I really do. A lot of people are going to argue and say it's Y Eau de Parfum, and I would probably throw in Y Eau de Parfum Intense over the regular Eau de Parfum at this point. I'm just really preferring that one. But I just got to give credit back to the OG. It's not like Acqua di Gio where they made some very big improvements throughout the flankers. They really haven't done that with the La Nuit de l'Homme fragrances or the L'Homme ones. And I'm not saying that any of the flankers are bad. They're definitely not. They just haven't really put out anything that could top this, besides maybe Bleu Electrique, which of course is really hard to find these days. And so yeah, I think, this is where it's at. If you want a unique, sexy, mysterious designer scent that's great for evenings out, great for a date night, that cardamom, pepper, lavender combination is absolutely stunning. I mean, this is one of a kind, one of the best smelling fragrances I have ever tried. there's a reason why this one was so popular at one point, and still is, but it's just not in the limelight like it was at one time. I think this is their best work. They should be proud of this one. I don't think this will ever go away. There's just too much on the table. It's, after all, spawned a bunch of flankers after it. So man, this is it right here. Got to go over to Chanel, you know, another huge heavy hitter in the game, although they just don't have nearly the amount of fragrances that a lot of these other guys do. Definitely quality over quantity for them. And so, you know, we haven't had a new release forever up until the announcement of Chanel Allure Homme Sport Super Leggera, which I have yet to try, but it just looks like it's going to be another fresh iteration on that DNA. I'm excited to try it. Not necessarily what I was hoping for, but I'm optimistic. And so because I haven't tried it, that's not going to be the favorite or the best, right? And even if I tried it, I don't think it would be anyway. If I had to choose my favorite Chanel and what I think is the best one that you could buy right now, honestly, I think it's probably Bleu de Chanel Parfum. Bleu de Chanel is an iconic DNA. It started, of course, with the Eau de Toilette, and that's what kind of spawned all of the blue fragrances that we know and love or hate. And so we can kind of thank Chanel for that. And out of the three, I think the Parfum is the best. You pay the most for it, right? Coming in at a true Parfum concentration. My idea is, if you're buying a Chanel, you're already most of the way there anyway. You're at retail because you're not getting it at discounters. You're already ready to spend some money on a premium product. Don't let the price difference between the Eau de Parfum and the Parfum sway you. If you like the Parfum better, get it. And I think in a lot of instances, this is the better fragrance. It performs better, it has a bit more richness behind it, so it's a little bit more unique compared to the very popular Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum DNA. That lemon zest in here is amazing, and you still get some of those woods and a little bit of a hint of a smokiness too. I think this is the way to go if you're gonna get it. It's great stuff. A lot of versatility, a huge compliment puller, beautiful quality, nice atomizer. This is the one. Next up, going over to Versace, another really popular and more affordable designer brand. You know, the first three that we've covered here are on the upper end. I would say those are, you know, premium priced designers, because even on discounters, they're usually kind of playing right around $100, which is on the upper end of things. And with how everything's going these days, that's, you know, still not as expensive as it gets designer-wise. Even on discounters, they're since exceeding that. Everything's getting more expensive. But this brand, typically their offerings are going to be in the $40 to $50 range, depending on what you're getting from Versace. Okay, and I think their best one right now that you can buy is Dylan Blue. So yet another blue fragrance, right? But I mean, you know, it's $40 and it has 12 plus hours of longevity, strong projection, and it's a nice smoky take on a blue fragrance with incense and patchouli, a ton of ambroxan, and some C notes if I didn't list that off already. It's just a really, really nice take on a very popular DNA, but there aren't too many out there that do it like this. You know, you could say that maybe Bvlgari Aqua Atlantique copied off of this a little bit, and I would say that you probably have an argument there. But, you know, as far as when this was released compared to the others, Sauvage, Dylan Blue, and everything else, this does its own thing. It kind of is in its own lane. It's also about half the price or less than half the price than Sauvage or Bleu de Chanel or you know, some of your other more expensive blue scents. If this was $80 at discounters, I would be probably shifting my focus a little bit, but I think for the money spent, this is one of the best offerings from Versace that you can get. You know, Eros Parfum is great. Versace Pour Homme is great. Eros Flame is great. They just have, all of their fragrances are really good, but I think this is the best money spent. So from Paco Rabanne, yet another brand that, you know, this would be different if I could include discontinued scents, but we're not doing that. And, you know, I'll go ahead and tell you, if I could include discontinued fragrances, what would they be? I would be tossed up between Invictus Aqua 2016 and 1 Million Privé. Those would be kind of neck and neck for me. They're classics. They're a couple of their best works, both discontinued, obviously. So we're not putting those in. Instead, I think right now, in terms of what you can get on the market, I think Victory Elixir, Invictus Victory Elixir, is the best one. Really nice vanilla, incense, tonka bean combination. It's very sweet, like most modern releases are, but in a really, really nice way too. And I will say, it just gets away from Invictus. The smell, you know, that bubblegummy sweetness and that kind of aquatic smell. because it really doesn't smell like Invictus. It smells like Invictus Victory, just stronger and heavier and a lot better. Really nice kind of dusty, creamy vanilla in here with that tonka, a bit of a smoke to it. I really like how this one comes together. It gets better as it dries down, in my opinion. You know, the new Invictus Aqua 2024, I'm not even going to include that because it's like a travel exclusive, and that's probably going to always be hard to find. That would probably take precedent over this, but again, we're not including that hard to find stuff. So yeah, as far as what you can get with relative ease from Paco Rabanne, I would say it's this. Pure Excess Night, another discontinued fragrance, would be in the running as well, but again, they discontinue all their good stuff. Next up, we have the brand of Azzaro. You know, another, at least at one point, relatively affordable brand. You know, some of their more popular offerings you could get for around $50, $60, but they've gone up to, I don't know, $75, $80 now. You know, just kind of weird. And Givenchy did a very similar thing. We'll talk about them later. But I think, again, for money spent, one of the best releases right now is Wanted by Night. You know, you could really throw in Chrome Extreme. You could throw in the Most Wanted Parfum or the Most Wanted. A lot of different ways you can go with Azzaro, right? But I think Wanted by Night still just takes the cake. It's kind of like an OG, you know, it's been out for quite a while now and definitely had its share of the spotlight, but even still today, it's a phenomenal release. You know, there was a point where you could get this for $50, $55 on discounters. Those days are over. You know, you're looking at $75, $80 now. Still worth that money. You know, it's got a tobacco, fruity smell with a bit of a warm, spicy cinnamon in here as well. Truly a nighttime smelling version of the original Wanted. It's great for fall, great for winter, a great performer, really good release. Going over to Prada up next. You know, everybody's choice is probably Prada L'Homme, and I think that's a great choice. You know, it's an $80 to $90 soapy, clean work scent, you know, maximum versatility, just great smelling scent that pretty much everybody's going to get along with. But I take it one step further, and I almost always reach for Prada L'Homme Intense instead. I just don't have much of a need personally for the original. If I'm wanting something kind of soapier and fresh, I'm just going for something different. If I want a fresh iris, I'm going for something different. But Prada L'Homme Intense offers something that nobody else really does in the same way, which is a kind of a fresh iris with some nice leather and tonka in there. You know, so it still has that Prada L'Homme smell, which we all know, but they've just added to it in a really, really good way that makes sense, and it truly is an intense version. You know, sometimes brands will slap intense on something that smells nothing like the original, and that's not the case here. So if you do want a version of Prada L'Homme that is a bit heavier and stronger and more interesting and maybe better for fall, winter use or cooler, rainier, gloomier days, this is it. You know, because for me, Prada L'Homme is like a bright, sunny, spring, early summer day type of scent. It's uplifting, it's bright, it's refreshing. This one with that bit of darkness to it is just more usable for the cooler times of the year. Would even be great for a summer evening too if you're going out and about. Okay, next up, Bvlgari. Yet another one where things would change if I could, you know, include discontinued stuff. It would be Aqua Atlantique. That is the one that I would put in here if it was still around, but it's not. And because it's not around, I'm just away from the Aqua line altogether. The original Aqua, it's nice, it's good. Aqua Marine, it's nice as well. Aqua Amara, that one would give Atlantique a run for its money. I would still choose Atlantique. So with Atlantique gone, I'm kind of looking back at the Bvlgari Man lineup because they don't really have too much else out there. Wood Neroli is fantastic, but I'll tell you what, the new Bvlgari Man in Black Parfum has been growing on me a lot. I think this is a really, really good release. You know, it still maintains that warm, spicy, and kind of spice bomb theme, you know, but with a darker, stronger, heavier approach. So Man in Black, the original, it's always been a good scent, maybe not the strongest performer compared to Spice Bomb. This one still isn't as strong as Spice Bomb, but you do see a little bit of an improvement over performance, which is nice, given that it's a true parfum, but it's still not going to be like a mega beast mode scent that you might expect from OG Spice Bomb or Spice Bomb Extreme. That being said, it still is a solid performer that gets the job done. Going to be great for fall and winter use. At this point, if I'm ever going to be reaching for Bvlgari Man in Black, I'm going straight for the parfum. at this point, I just don't really see much of a need to go out and buy the eau de parfum if you can get this one for a good deal, and you really don't need to have both either. So that's kind of where I see everything shifting towards. This new parfum is a great one. Going over to Dolce & Gabbana up next. You know, again, this one, I'm going to kind of put it as a tie, okay? Because I just want to, because what I'm going to tie it with, you can get sometimes. And I guess that's the case with a lot of these, but especially with this one, it pops up a lot. So the first spot is Dolce & Gabbana, the one eau de parfum. Out of all of the releases and all the flankers, of which a lot of them are discontinued now, this is the one that's still standing that I think is just one of the best. Now, don't get me wrong. If you could buy Luminous Night, I'd probably toss it in over this. If you could buy Royal Night, I would probably toss it in over this because it performs a bit better. But at the end of the day, I'm happy to include the OG here because this is one of the best tobacco scents I've ever smelled in my life, even up against a lot of the niche ones that I have. There's something truly special about this stuff, and it's relatively affordable. It was one that also used to be just $50 dead even, I feel like, and it's gone up a little bit, but not a ton, still affordable. I'm gonna tie this one with Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue Italian Love / Forever. That DNA, you know, they'll both kind of pop up every now and then for pretty good prices. I think that's one of their best works as well. Great for summertime, but technically discontinued. But you can get it sometimes, especially if you're on my mailing list and texting list by signing up down below. Okay, going over to Givenchy. Like I said, you know, this was a brand that also was just mid-range. You know, Gentleman Eau de Parfum, $50. Gentleman, you know, Eau de Toilette, $40, and maybe it still is, but I just remember the EDP always being like 50, 55, making it a really affordable contender to, you know, something like Dior Homme Intense. Now for Givenchy, I'm going with Gentleman Eau de Parfum Reserve Privé, one of their best works ever. They should be proud of this one. It has iris, chestnut, whiskey. It is a phenomenal take on that very popular iris DNA, but they're putting a boozy approach on it and kind of an edible gourmand approach from that chestnut, which nobody else has really done, at least in this way. So I respect this one. It is amazing. It's just under $100 on discounters, you know, 98 into the 90s. And maybe sometimes you can get it for a bit less, like a tester or something, but it's very reasonable for what you get in return. Just a beautiful release. Okay, next up we're going with Carolina Herrera. Again, I sound like a broken record, but discontinued ones are out, right? If they were in, it would be CH Men Privé, not having to think twice about it. That was a work of art. Just one of the best designers ever, in my opinion. I think it was a 2015 release or something like that. And it didn't really stick around for all that long. The original CH Men is still out and about all over the place for 50, 60 bucks. They should have taken that one away instead. And I love it, don't get me wrong. But Privé was so much better. A really nice leather whiskey combination. Beautiful. But we don't have that. So instead, we're going with Iris Empire. And here's why. It has a beautiful iris note, but you know what else it has? It has this leather accord, which is very similar smelling to the leather used in CH Men Privé, okay? Smell it. You'll see what I mean. The first time I tried this one, I picked up on it, and I'm like, that reminds me of something, and I started racking my brain, and I'm like, it's a bit of a CH Men Privé smell with that leather. And then I smell it further, and it almost is like, I don't know if it's the type of leather and it's my mind playing tricks, but it's almost like I can extrapolate just a little bit of a whiskey touch. Just that type of leather that was used in conjunction with the whiskey and, you know, CH Men Privé. It's like I pick up on that a little bit here, but especially the leather mixing with the iris and a nice dark chocolate note. This is one of the best iris fragrances out there. You know, Dior Homme Intense, Dior Homme Parfum, the Gentleman we just talked about, this, Valentino Uomo Intense. When we're talking sweet iris, this one can give all of those a run for their money, and I think a lot of people might appreciate this one over some of the others depending on what your taste is. You're not going to appreciate the price as much. It is the most expensive. But if you want something a bit more premium, it's worth every penny. This is one of their best releases ever. Going over to the brand of Tom Ford. You know, they're designer, right? But they're very, very premium designer. They're very expensive, you know. And they've got their private blended line, which is niche pricing, but they're still designer. I'm just going to classify them that for this video to make it easy, right? And they just have so many fragrances, it's insane. Discontinued ones and production ones, everything in between. This one was tough, I'll be honest. This one was really, really challenging, okay? And I think I narrowed it down the best I could. If I had to choose what I believe to be just one of their best releases that you can buy right now, it's Tobacco Oud, you know, and it's a polarizing one for sure. This is not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm telling you, if you're into tobacco and oud, nice boozy touch, and you can handle stuff like this, you're going to be obsessed. It's really good. It is incredibly strong. It's too strong for some people sometimes. Big performer, very heavy, very rich, thick and syrupy. But wow, is it a fun one to kind of work your way through. Okay, going over to Jean Paul Gaultier. This one is Le Male Elixir. A new kid on the block, right? I think it's probably better than Ultra Male. I think it's better than Le Male Le Parfum. And I'm not discrediting those because those are a couple of my favorites. But as far as, you know, what you can get right now, it's one of their best offerings. They really, to me, put a decent amount of thought into this one, and they kind of are catering to the crowd who wants something just a little bit less juvenile, just a little, because Ultra Male is very, very young and playful. Le Male Le Parfum is a step further away from that. This one is a step even farther from that. It really has a nice honey tobacco combination, which is pretty popular, but the first time being done in this line, and it smells great. It's a great pickup. Going over to John Varvatos, we have Artisan Pure, you know, Artisan Aqua, Artisan Blue, fantastic. Talking discontinued ones, it would be Dark Rebel Rider, John Varvatos Oud. There's John Varvatos Platinum, which is a really nice sandalwood scent, I believe. I have it, I just can't remember. It's been a while since I've smelled that one, but they've got a really, really good catalog, or at least they did at one point before they started discontinuing all the good ones as per usual. But Artisan Pure, it's the best one that you can get right now, in my opinion, from the brand. It's a fantastic scent for summertime with a ton of orange and aromatic notes. And last up for this video, all the way at the very end, I skipped this one on accident. It was going to be up there by Chanel and Versace and Armani, just kind of the top dogs, but I forgot, and so I had to sneak it in here at the end. From Christian Dior, of course. It's not Sauvage, you know, it could have been Sauvage Elixir maybe, it could have been Sauvage Parfum or something, right? But I think Dior Homme Intense, just across the board, collectively, is just one of their best works ever. And there's quite a few iris fragrances in this video, I get it, but that's just kind of what I like, and so that's kind of where they landed. But man, it's just truly one of the best, okay? It stands out against the Carolina Herrera, it stands out against the Prada. It's kind of more of a lavender approach, and it's still sweet and kind of lipsticky, but just different, okay? So beautiful, not a ton of redundance in my opinion, but again, I'm big into iris. You know, Dior Homme Parfum would definitely be in the running as well, but that one is just a lot more challenging, and I don't know, I think Dior Homme Intense really helped with the push to normalize the note of iris. You know, obviously Dior Homme came first, but this one really blew up, and I think that's what really helped initiate all of these other designer brands and niche brands to put out these you know, iris forward scents. So if it wasn't for Dior Homme Intense, we might not have that stuff, just like Chanel. If it wasn't for Blue de Chanel, who knows where we would be. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me. 15 fragrance brands and some of their best releases ever. I'll link all these down below. If you want to get entered to win 24 fragrances, hit the link down below and get entered there. If you want to be notified of when rare discontinued stuff comes into stock, you can sign up to my mailing list and texting list. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.